What's up, we welcome back to Anime Lane, the podcast where we take you down the yellow brick road of anime and have a look at everything it has to offer. On today's episode, we're back on Spy Family. It's just a continuation of season 1, so if you want all the information on that, go listen to the last episode. The only difference is that these 13 episodes that we're covering today of season 1 aired from the 1st of October 2022 to the 24th of December 2022. As always, I'm your host, Shaun, Notorious, and joining me once again today is Shaun.
Hello.
So yeah, we're back. It's been a bit of a longer break than we originally intended with Spy Family. It was originally meant to be just like when we recorded the first half. We were going to do the first half within like a week or so at the time, and then, you know, as regular listeners know, shit just never worked out for the entirety of like December and January for us.
We had 2 months where things just could not get off the ground for our plans. Things just kept happening.
Or like it's, you know, this sort of period is like really bad for just like productivity and just wanting to actually do stuff. So sometimes like just the idea of recording something or like watching something for the sake of recording something kind of felt like having a gun put to our heads, and so we just sort of kept and occasionally rescheduling just on the idea of like, well, let's not do it if we're not going to be, you know, feeling it, because what's the point?
Yeah, like you know, there's a lot of reasons for that, like maybe seasonal stuff just comes in for us. We can be a little susceptible about that, I think. I know I can, and I think you've talked about it.
Yeah, like I think I mentioned it in the maybe in the last episode, I think, where we talked about like 2025. I think I mentioned that I was really feeling it during mid to early January. So yeah. Anyway, we're here in the second half. And you know, we had our thoughts on the first half about how do you get longevity out of an idea like Spy Family, and then after the
how do you take up like a full 25 episode season?
Yeah, and then how do you go for 3 seasons in total so far, and the manga is still ongoing, and you know, beyond the first 3 episodes of this core, as they're called, there's just, you know, there's nothing really progresses the plot
It's
at
just
all.
Filler, filling up the time. Not enough content for a whole season.
The fascinating thing is, I'm pretty sure all of this stuff did happen in the manga, though, because, you know, typically when people talk about filler, we talk about in the sense of anime as like stuff that happens solely in the anime so that the manga can continue on. If you want like a really good discussion on filler, Overly Sarcastic Productions put out a video like just a few days ago.
It is amazing you say that. I've seen that video in my recommends for like a whole like since it's come out, and like I keep meaning to watch it and send it to you, because I feel like I can say this. I've kind of made you an OSP fan now. But like I just keep not getting the urge. Sometimes I just don't get the urge.
I watched it as soon as I spotted it on like my recommended. I think I might have sent it in our Discord server and like mentioned something about it, but I can't. Maybe I didn't.
I don't think you did.
But yeah, it's a very good discussion on like what is filler in the sense of anime, but also storytelling in general, because TV can be susceptible to it as well. You know, TV shows get, you know, or used to get seasonal orders of like 22 episodes a season, and sometimes there would be budget constraints.
We've had a whole discussion on that kind of thing, like even just in the last year, which again you should go see, blah 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 blah.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure that this stuff did happen in the manga. I'm just gonna quickly double check and see if I can find the Spy Family wiki that'll track like. Yeah, so I'm just looking at episode 19 here because I googled something about it earlier, and it says adapted from chapter 28 A part, and I don't know if that's in reference to Well, it's weird that it has a part, so I don't know what that means.
I'm shocked though, because there's like one episode in particular screamed to me that it was just like a filler episode because they didn't have enough for like the full commissioned season or whatever, and it was the one with like the kid with the dad who he thought was going to be bankrupt, but then it turns out no, it wasn't bankrupt. So we spent a whole half episode with that, and it went fucking nowhere with a character I don't think we'll ever see again.
That's this episode I'm currently looking at. It was adapted from chapter 28.
Cool. And then like the second half of that episode was that. It was something else that just didn't really. Was it the one where you're like getting the gym clothes to like Anya?
Yes. I think that was that episode. Yeah, because it says here, Mama becomes the wind.
Felt like shorts, like sort of animated shorts you'd get on in days gone by as like a bonus on like a Blu-ray disc or whatever.
Yeah, that is sort of the thing, is that they either feel like things you would get as bonus material on the home video release, or like from a different type of show, because the shows that do shorter form content do exist. It's just that typically they're not like so story focused. A lot of them are like maybe 5 to we've covered one of them. I think we would rather forget that we ever did cover it, but we covered Himigoto, and that basically is this whole structure of like, you know, 10-minute episodes, and that's sort of where Spy Family goes for 10 episodes.
Yeah, there's always like a little, like a half an episode that feels sort of important, and then the other half is just like, here's a fun little thing with the characters doing like character stuff. And like, ironically, I feel like I've said it before that like I don't even dislike filler.
No.
If it's like just a way to breathe with the characters. I'm sure in the episode where we actually discussed, the one I mentioned earlier, where we discussed like TV shows and how they've like gotten short over time and all that, I talked about how Daredevil Born Again had like an episode in the middle that was basically filler. But but it's like one of my favorite episodes of that season, because it's just seeing Matt Murdock do Daredevil stuff for an hour without any sort of strings attached to an overall narrative, and that's great.
It's sort of like the X-Files thing, where there's that one episode where they kind of parody themselves.
To be fair, that one kind of did come out of nowhere, and I felt kind of weird watching that one because I had no idea what was happening. I thought everyone just got hit with like weird gas at the start.
Oh,
and, like,
no, I'm not. Oh, okay, yeah, I think we are talking about the same episode. This is the one with Mulder's high-pitched screech.
Yeah, that is the same episode, but it's also the one where like Scully gets really bitchy for no reason, and then
it's the sort of framing of the episode is that it's almost like a Rashomon-esque, the same story being told by different people.
Yeah, because there's definitely a framing device where like it's like a professor or whatever is like telling the story.
Yeah, it kind of switches a couple of times, so it kind of becomes hard to track eventually, but it's someone who's written a book about Mulder and Scully's case, and this is the version of it through the book, if I remember correctly anyway, because I think they do something similar later where there's all these different like people telling the same story, and sometimes you see like people saying the dialogue over that character, and like it's not the character saying it but whoever is narrating the story, kind of like that sequence in Ant-Man Luis is narrating stuff. I
was wondering what it was reminding me of. It was reminding me of that when you were describing that. Yeah, but like the thing that got me with that episode, this is completely unrelated to the show we're supposed to be talking about, sorry, but the thing that like I just didn't I didn't think it really clicked for me in that episode is the fact that they sort of framed it wrong in the way, like I didn't get it was supposed to be the episode through the lens of like the book that was written. It was more just like an actual retelling.
Yeah,
that is sort of weird.
Yeah, because it's not really until the end where you see Mulder reading the book that you like really get the proper idea, even though the sort of journalist guy is a character through the episode. So you kind of just get the idea that he's telling the story, and it does frame it very, very strangely. I remember it taking me a while to get the gist of it being not just a self-parody, but like that framing device and how it worked. But that is a filler episode to the X-Files. You know, it doesn't serve
back to the point.
Yes, it doesn't serve like a grander purpose in the X-Files myth arc storyline. But it's a good episode. It's entertaining. It has entertainment value, because that's ultimately what TV and you know, movies are for, is to entertain. And if you're not being entertained, then it's you know, that's where it's maybe failing. It might not be, because sometimes things can be unentertaining but important to see, if that makes sense. Like, you may not necessarily be entertained in a sense of, I am enjoying this experience. Maybe the experience is meant to be hard to watch. There are examples of that.
But the thing about like the filler thing is that, like, even if it's not like forwarding like a main plot along, or like a sort of series arc narrative, the usually what would be entertaining would just be, at the very least, you'd see the characters just being able to breathe and be themselves, and maybe even learn something more about them just given the situation they're in, even if it has nothing to do with the overall arc whatsoever. The problem I think we both hit here is that this was just there was a lot of times where it just felt like, okay, what was the point of that at the end of the episode?
Yeah, it sort of closed the book and moved on, and you were just kind of left with, why did we watch this? Yes, it was entertaining.
Yeah,
but now
there's no episodes of like this like second half we want to say we found straight up bad, I think.
No, I think, and this is simply because I have seen it before, revisiting the tennis sort of 1.5 parter was not super fun for me.
Okay, I will say that 2-parter was fucking hilarious to me throughout the whole thing, so I got entertainment value out of that. Especially like the last part where you just see every sort of dirty trick that the last pair is doing. Every time they added a new one, it just became funnier and funnier to me.
I enjoyed it, you know, enough on the first go through, but I think, you know, because I'm seeing these all again, there is that to take into account, in a sense, where it's like, oh, I didn't realize how much of this is just sort of like very quick snippets of stuff, and watching it back to back is a very different experience to watching it like week to week, because week to week you're just getting, you know, 2 stories in a 23-minute episode, and that's entertaining from a week to week perspective. Watching them back to back, I have a very different like feeling on it, and that's that it becomes very not monotonous, just sort of exhausting, because you're kind of thinking, here I am at the end of the episode, and then it just starts a different story again.
I will admittedly say I kind of got that whole exhausting thing with just the way I watched it, and this is more down to just how I did it in terms of like how I like spread out my watch of the second half than like really anything else. But I decided to watch the first half of the second part, like around, what was it, 7 episodes back to back?
I think you did, yeah. You watched that to think episode 20, which would have been 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Episode 8 of this half, which is 13 episodes.
I kind of wish I hadn't done that, because I was about like halfway through, I was like, oh, I need a break. But if I take a break, I'm not going to have enough time to watch it before I need to get this out.
Yeah, I watched 3 yesterday morning, 4 last night, and then the other 6 this morning, all back to back. And that 6 back to back was a real challenge.
Yeah. I still love the show though. I love all the characters, and like there were some great moments in there. It was purely down to just I should have spaced out my watch times a little more, which I'm usually good on.
Yeah,
I want to stress. It's just this time it was purely my own feelings. So if basically my main point for this is that if I come off slightly negative in how I talk about these episodes, even though it feels like it's not really warranted, that might be why.
Yeah, I think what I've been thinking is, and I think I mentioned this to you a little bit when we were watching them, and I want to explain this simply on the fact of it may explain sort of the dichotomy of our discussion here, is watching something in your own time, for purely like an enjoyment thing, is a slightly different mindset to what we do when we're recording podcasts, when we're watching something knowing we have to discuss it and try and take mental notes to try and kind of just you're looking at it through a very different, not a very different lens, but like a different enough lens that while you may enjoy it in your own time, well, you may enjoy it if you weren't watching it for this, it can be a challenge because sometimes you run against the thing of, I may be really enjoying this, there just isn't much to discuss.
Yeah, like we run into that problem we've talked about before with like shows like this, where like we like the show, we're entertained, we're watching it, but when it comes to actually discussing stuff, there's not really much to talk about.
Yeah, it's the Ranma problem, it's the My Dress Up Darling problem. I think Dan maybe didn't really run into this quite as much, because that had more of like a story thing going on. But even like My Dress Up Darling, there's more things to sort of like to point out and to discuss and kind of riff on. And it's, I think of like our consistent thing across the podcast is Lupin III, and how there's not really much going on in a Lupin storyline.
No.
And nor do we expect there to be. There are some that kind of go a bit above and beyond, whether that's the first or like Castle Cagliostro, stuff like that, but by and large, they're a very formulaic production. But when we're discussing them, we're sort of, we're riffing on them. We feel so comfortable with Lupin that it's less about what was this about and more like, what are the jokes that we can build off the top of what this was about.
There's also the extra like layer where like, because what we watch can be like so dependent on whatever creative force is behind the specific thing, we sort of get a little bit more meta when it comes to Lupin, and we're like, okay, so how is Lupin portrayed this time? How is Fujiko dealt with in a character sense? How are like Goemon and Jigen like used for this story? And did they have a reason to be there? Which, sometimes they're just there to get their animated paychecks.
Yeah, like Missed by a Dollar, which came out not long ago. Goemon was just simply there.
He joined a cult. Why did he join a cult? That's what he's doing.
Purely there to earn the paycheck. He's paying the bills.
Yeah. But like for Spy Family, for what all we can, what in terms of like the overall story, the most that actually happened this time was that we finally Twilight finally met the main Desmond guy.
Yes. Well, there are a couple other things. So we get the dog, we get Bond. That's sort of like the opening thing. That gets a little bit lost in the noise because it is the immediate thing that happens at the beginning of this core.
It happens, and then he's just sort of like, the most he does after that, I'm realizing, is just he tears apart the penguin. The penguin, plush.
Yeah.
Which, that was a great little short. Loved that whole thing. It was immensely adorable.
Yeah.
And like hilarious.
And then we have Nightfall introduced as a recurring character, sort of, I think, at the expense of Frankie showing up, I think, a bit more, where this time spent not really progressing anything, I felt could have been a good time to have Frankie be a bit more present, to get to know him a bit better. Instead, we just sort of have Nightfall show up.
Sort of a stalker.
She's a stalker. She's a bit unhinged.
She's a stalker, and like Frankie, it just gets like one like small plot line where he's also a stalker.
Yes.
There's a lot of stalking in the second half. I don't like that that's a thing.
They are spies.
Yeah, but you know, there's a layer in between what's happening with like Twilight and whatever the fuck those two are doing. Oh yeah, Yuri actually like met Anya as well this
Oh
time.
yeah, because he never. That was the thing when he showed back up again and like started commenting on Anya like internally. I was like, oh yeah, she was like asleep during the episode where he was introduced. So that whole dynamic had to sort of not even get established. They just sort of were like, yeah, this is how he feels. Anyway, let's move on.
He's kind of a dick. Like
he is. Yeah.
I said to you, the more we sort of learn about Yuri, the less and less I like him as a character.
He is to me the least entertaining character that shows up because he's very, I guess even like Nightfall's slightly one note. But at least there's a little bit of an arc there of like across the couple of episodes that she shows up in. It is sort of like building to Twilight being like, you're not going to replace Yor, so just stop it.
Yeah, like at least Nightfall has like the thing where her like she has mainly just one trait going through like her whole characterization, but it's an interesting trait in the fact that like she comes off as like, I'm gonna call her the Ray because I can't think of a better like example, but like the sort of cold, detached, just sort of focus on the mission. You think gonna be like a coin flip for Yor, and you know she kind of is, just not in the way I expected, because you think she's gonna be purely dedicated to the mission, just gonna be dispassionate and stuff, but no, the twist is that is purely just a mask, and very thinly underneath that mask, she's nuts.
Yes.
Like, even more nuts than the rest of the show. She is a freak.
Yeah. She wants Lloyd.
And that is amazing. I kind of loved her throughout every single appearance.
Yuri, on the other hand, he can just go die in a bin. You know,
yeah, we can bin him.
Yeah. Every time he shows up, it's just the same thing over and over again.
Did you know he likes his sister? That's his thing. Do you not like that that's his thing? Well, you're not gonna like him.
I do like that he experiences micro death every single time he eats Yor's cooking, though. That's only because he deserves it.
No, okay, that is like the most interesting part of his character.
Yeah.
He loves that food, but his body hates it.
Yeah, like it's actively, literally killing him every single time he eats it, but he loves it.
He is visually throwing up every single time he takes a bite, but he's so happy that while he's throwing up, it's great in a disgusting way.
Yeah.
What is going on with her cooking, by the way? Like, I gotta say, like, I love that is a trait that she's just a failure at everything apart from killing.
Yeah. She can make stew, though. She can make
Shadow Realm soup. What is she putting in that thing?
Everything. That's the problem.
Omelette.
She made everything. She put everything in it. Didn't matter whether it made sense. She just threw it in.
Man, how?
Yeah, and then we meet our Lloyd meets Desmond Senior for the first time.
The family name is Desmond,
yes,
even though it feels like a given name.
Yeah, because we have Damien Desmond, who we are following through Anya's antics. He is the second son, as she likes to call him.
Yeah.
And then there's
who everyone thinks she's into, but she's literally 6 years old maximum, and she was not there.
She has not even had that thought cross her mind. It is the farthest thing from that little brain of hers.
And the first time it's brought up, which is near the end of this core, which is funny, by the way, like, she's just like, no, this is purely so that we could use him as a way to kill his dad.
She goes through like this whole thought process of like, I love my dad, I love my mom, I love her dog, I love peanuts, I don't love Desmond, and then it's just very matter of fact, like, nope.
No. every sort of like gifable action I'd like to call them that she does is like pure perfection.
Yup. She is a reaction machine.
I've used them many times since we watched the first court.
Yeah, so her older, Damien has like an older brother whose name we do see like once, and I forget what it is. But then
it's a very fancy sort of longer name that I don't care to. It begins with a D.
Yeah, and then there's Daddy Desmond.
Don't call him that. Please don't call him that. I'm not calling him that.
Who looks kind of like Hitler, which I wish wasn't a recurring thing on this podcast.
I mean, kinda. He looks exactly like him.
Yeah,
he's got like a sort of buzz cut.
And looks like he's had his skull Frankensteined back together.
Yeah, I noticed that too, and like, honestly, this is gonna be my theory that can be completely shot down in like later seasons. I feel like there's just something. There's gonna be a twist with him where like he's not an actual person. Like the actual person died like years ago, and there's just another spy pretending to be him because he acts very strangely, and he has that 1,000-yard stare constantly.
He looks like he's constantly like wired up on caffeine or drugs or something. Yeah. He just looks a little bit too alert.
He's a bit not intense, just sort of, he's not all there behind the eyes.
Yeah.
Not in a psychopath sense, just in a sort of, is your brain working?
Yeah. And that's sort of between the first 3 episodes. That's the last episode. So like we have this long stretch of just stuff going on in the middle that doesn't really matter or add anything. Sometimes it barely feels like character development. Yours Cooking is like the only one off the top of my head that I think has any sort of tangible character importance, whereas like everything else is sort of just like, yeah, these are antics for 10 minutes and then we're gonna move on to another set of antics for 10 minutes. Like when Anya goes to the hospital with Lloyd and there's really just no purpose or conclusion.
That feels like it gets close to like character development. Like, I don't know if it's the end of that one where like he meets up with Yor to have a talk, or I might be thinking of the close.
You're thinking of the
gym close episode.
One, yeah.
Okay. But like, I'm gonna use both of them actually because there's a sort of little bits of information. Like we see what Twilight's actual cover is at the hospital. I'm not entirely sure of the logistics and how it works because it feels like he's integrated a bit too well and not a single person asking a question. And given the fact that he's not really there most of the time, as far as we know, it's like, how did they pull this off?
And then you've also got the fact that we find out like an episode later that Fiona or Nightfall, I should say, also works there. And it's like, that raises more questions.
Yeah, like what does she do when she's there? I don't think she doesn't exactly strike me as the medical type.
Yeah.
In both facades. And like with the gym clothes one, like that feels like near the end it has a little bit more of an insight where we can sort of see the chipping away of like Twilight and Yor's sort of relationship and sort of getting, so what actually is happening between us outside of just the cover, which also gets expanded on a little bit more at the end of the Nightfall arc, I'll call it.
Yeah.
Where Yor gets drunk and then sort of realizes that like I'm happy here, even if it's just like to be like part of the family structure. It makes me feel sort of valued and stuff. And then she forgets all about it the next day.
Yeah, so they have the conversation again, which is incredible stuff. Sort of defeats the purpose of everything we just watched.
Again, highlights the point of, so what was the point of all that?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Give Twilight a butt chin.
Yeah, he got a ball on his face.
Yeah, he did. That's not an exaggeration. He got a giant ball on his chin.
Yeah, she kicked him that hard, he grew a ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just, there's a lot of fun stuff. It is entertaining. It's just that I feel like we were both struggling watching it to be like, what the fuck
Yeah.
do we talk about here?
Yeah, you can sort of hear us, dear listener, that we are struggling to stay on any sort of topic just on this core because like there's nothing really of substance to really go into a discussion about other than
Yeah.
what we've already mentioned at this point, and it's only been what, 20 minutes?
We have just hit 30 here.
Wow.
Yeah. It's incredible that there were 13 other episodes and the plot just didn't move like an inch beyond getting Bond, which is just more of a character introduction than any sort of like actual movement on the story, which the story
like, that episode felt like it was moving along. We got for that episode we also got a bit more into Anya's sort of like functionality and the sort of spy thing where like, you know, she's the one that uncovers the plot really, while Twilight is useless.
Yeah.
But she finds the bomb. She realizes, I can't disarm this thing. This isn't like the cartoons. So she gets ketchup and writes on the door. But like there's the other thing where like Yor just has to disappear throughout that entire episode past the first part of it. So she doesn't get much development. And like, despite the fact that it introduces that the dog can see the future.
Yeah.
Which feels like a big thing. It's never really brought up again after this.
No. It's weird because after that, the most the dog can kind of do is that Anya can kind of understand him, and we only really get...
they can communicate.
Yeah, which doesn't come up in that episode. Like, she sort of indicates she can understand him, but it's only in, like, some of these later vignettes that we get, like, actual lines of dialogue of Bond's internal
which I didn't expect
thinking.
When they popped up, and I was like, you could just do that now?
Yeah! I was like, okay, where was this? Because, yeah, there's a human voice actor going, barf. You know, whenever he's on screen. But up until now, we've never had this, like, actual dialogue coming out of him. It's not coming out of him, it's going on in his head, but, like, but still.
Is the implication that he's, like, learning English in his mind the more he interacts with her?
Maybe, like, because
I'm probably thinking way too deeply on that, but...
Lloyd does mention that, like, he is a very intelligent dog, which I guess, you know, in the fact that he can see the future.
Yeah.
But to a dog, it's not intelligent. That wouldn't mean anything.
Yeah, it's just another part of the experiments that went on with, like, him, along, like, to parallel the ones that went with Anya that gave her powers. But again, it's never really expanded upon outside of that one episode, and since this is 13 episodes long, it feels kind of, for this core, wasted. Outside of like the first story it comes up. Which is, you know, a little annoying.
Yeah.
Still, I still recommend, like, this core. Like, I had fun watching this. Like, this isn't to say the show is bad by any means. It's just, you know, there wasn't too much going on, and it felt like even, like, there wasn't as much of a tight structure as, like, the first core had.
Because the first core is, like, very focused on all the setup stuff, which is, you know, establish family, get Anya into school, make sure she doesn't get expelled from school, sort of try and get her to make friends with
get, like, the 8 stars that, like, halfway through this time she's like, oh, I've just given up on that at this point.
The amount of times they recap stuff as well, this core, where the episode opens with, like, a rundown of what's happened, and I just can't help but think that that's kind of insulting on just a basic principle of the show's premise is not hard to understand. And no one's coming into it at episode 17 and you know, wondering what the fuck is this.
Yeah, and, like, ironically, there's only one thing I felt like I needed recapped, and that was, like, what exactly the Desmond Senior's deal was, like, in detail. Because like, that only ever got explained in the very first part of the first core of the season.
Yeah, like, it's only brought up when everything's sort of, like, being explained to us about Operation Strix and why they're doing this. Any time beyond that, it's just he's the target. That's all it is.
Yeah. But like, I ended up making the joke to you where like I was just like, take a shot every time Twilight feels the need to explain his situation again. Because by like the 5th time it happened in this core, I was like, Twilight, who are you talking to? There's nobody here. Are you just narrating this to yourself in your mind? Are you cool? Do you need to hype yourself up?
Because it not only happens from Twilight himself, it's also happening in like a detached narration at the beginning of some episodes that I'm like, come on, it wasn't even that long since the first core aired at this point. It was like 6 months apart max.
I was gonna say, yeah, like it was only 6 months. That's not enough to really forget most of the setup.
Yeah. And like no one was coming in. Maybe some people came in at the beginning of part 2. And like that's fair. Doing a small recap thing at the beginning of that first episode, that makes sense. But it happens like 4 times after that. And then like it would do it and you would think, oh, I guess this episode's important then. And it wouldn't be.
It doesn't, and it's not like it does the my first go-to example is like the Avatar thing, where like a recap of an episode like is purely linked to what's going to be relevant to that episode's story. It's just more of a, so you remember Operation Styx? I'm still doing that.
And Anya needs the things. Yeah.
But she doesn't need the things. She's given up on the things, so now she's just focused on the boy.
The boy.
Who's maybe getting character development. It was very slow.
Yeah. That's the thing, is that I worry about how drawn out some of this is gonna be. And like I like these characters, but if it's gonna be stuck in a loop for a while, that's gonna be really frustrating, I think.
If we're at the end of season 2 and it feels, and we're stuck in the same situation where it feels like we've got nothing really to talk about, I'm genuinely going to be annoyed.
That's it, because like I kind of think, is there like a point in saying, oh, let's watch season 2? And because whenever we do stuff like that, we have to like, we always do it with a set, let's record it at this point in time, this date. And if we do that and then there's just nothing to discuss, what was the point? It would feel like wasted time.
We would be making our own filler and not the fun kind.
Like it does, there is part of me that's like, I don't see the need to do episodes on the following season. Am I going to watch them? Absolutely. I do really like the show.
I know I
do
am,
find it
no
fun.
matter what.
Yeah. But I don't think it's gonna come up on Anime Lane again. Unless it's in like a what we were watching and we just build it into a part of that. As like a, oh, you know, we did watch season 2 and 3 and they were pretty good, but there was nothing worth doing actual episodes on, because I don't want to just fill time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. Like I feel like the situation we probably want to do, like at this point, just to sort of iron this out now, in this episode, is I feel like I'm probably going to end up watching the second season within the next few months at least. I know that.
Yeah.
So if we both watch them and we feel like there's enough to warrant another episode, we'll just do one. And if that doesn't happen, you'll know what happened.
Yeah. I would say don't expect it. It might happen, but at this point in time, don't expect like a follow-up on this. It just might not happen. It's not like Ranma, where the sort of setup and stuff that happened in that first season of Ranma, we were kind of like, well, I feel like we need to know more. We need to keep going a little bit to sort of know where we land on that adaptation at the very least.
Like, I'm excited to do that second season for Ranma. I've been thinking about it since it like started coming out on like Netflix, and hopefully we'll be doing that soon.
Yeah.
But like, I don't feel like, for content's sake, and I don't like thinking about it through the content like lens, but for content's sake, I don't feel like Spy Family is really enough to warrant another one, unless we're
Yeah.
pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, and like who knows, maybe it'll be a case of like whenever we've watched season 3, we just do 2 and 3 and like one episode, if that's sort of the case.
Yeah.
But you know, it is dependent on like where things, because I haven't seen season 2. I only ever watched season 1. I never seen season 2 and 3, so I kind of don't know if things were just stuck in like a stagnation place. I think given the setup of the series and the sort of slice of life aspect that it's going for, it could be, this might just be the series from now on, and that concerns me a little bit.
Damn.
So yeah, I think unless you've got any other points, I think this is just the end of the episode.
Yeah, it feels so sad to say it like that. Well, we've not really talked about... It feels like we've not talked much about the episodes themselves. We've talked more about just the situation of us watching the episodes.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is there's just not much to talk about.
Yeah. We're so sorry if you came into this episode expecting us to go into deep dives into like the tennis arc or something like that, because the most we can say is I found it really fun. I found it really funny when it got to the point where they were shooting rubber bullets at them or the net was going up and down, and I was just like, oh, come on, this is just a comedy.
Yeah.
But there's nothing much you can really say other than that was funny, Nightfall is insane.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
Yeah. There's not much to discuss, because the things that happen aren't really like the story doesn't move forward. I think that's the thing, is that if there is a story, we can discuss the story and we can sort of then riff on the funnier parts from that. It points to the Lupin thing. We don't expect like an exceptional story, but there is a story, and we build from there in our discussions, and we riff on characters and stuff like that. Whereas here it's hard to do that when there just isn't a story,
it's hard to do a discussion podcast when there's not really substance to make discussions on.
So like we do enjoy it, but it's just there isn't.
I still recommend it.
Yeah, no, 100%. I fully recommend this series to people. It's just there's a weird dichotomy, I think, in the fact of our discussion feels at odds with our opinions and feelings on the actual show itself. So
maybe we'll talk about the movie though if we watch that.
Maybe, who knows? We'll see if that even if that has enough substance to... So I guess we'll score this season. Where am I sitting? I think maybe like a solid I think just on the strength of the first half on its own, like an 8. I think I'm sitting at. If it were just the second half, 8. Like maybe a 7, maybe a little bit lower. But no, I think like based on the first half, those episodes that actually are story driven are make it an 8, make it worth that score.
Season wide, this is definitely an 8 to me. I would absolutely recommend this show. It's very fun, even as just like not a show you fully like try and analyze, just like it's sort of late at night, you want to watch something before you before you go to bed, just like put on an episode. It's that kind of show, and sometimes that's all the show needs to be.
It just makes it
very terrible to talk about in a show like this.
So that's the episode.
We did it.
We did it. We will we may come back for the other seasons. It just depends entirely on what how those shape out. But I don't think we're going to make any dedicated plans as of yet as to that happening. So don't expect them. It might happen. You may be pleasantly surprised.
Exactly. Take them as small little gifts that you can go, neat.
So yeah, we will see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.